Running behind me right now, I have an ultra short throw projector, and this one is from XGIMI. I've covered quite a few of their models. It's called the Aura 2. And right now, even with my bright studio lights on, it's faring quite well, and that's because it does have 2300 ISO lumens. So it's quite bright, supports HDR, 4K 60. It's IMAX enhanced, Dolby Vision support too with it, and it even has their intelligent screen adaptation 5.0. So that's auto keystone correction, auto focus, and wall flatness adaptation too with this model. So this is what is included with the Aura 2. Inside the box you will find here quite a chunky Aura 2 user manual. You've got then the power cable and our remote and two AAA batteries. Now the remote, this is typical of what you see with Google TV or Android TV, so very similar out to those. And it's a nice quality remote. It feels quite heavy, there's metal on the back, and the batteries, you just push this and it slots out and you can install those quite easily. The design of it looks really good. So it's got this fabric lid on the top that opens and closes to protect where the lens is to stop dust getting in, which I think is a good idea. We have a fabric front on it, and there are 4 speakers inside this. So they're Harman Kardon speakers, 2.0 channel. So this is not surround or anything like that, as expected. Otherwise it would have to be virtual. And they're 15 watts each, those 4 speakers. Now it supports DTS Virtual X, DTS HD, Studio Sound, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Digital, and Digital Plus there, so DD Plus. That's a lot for the audio. Power on button, that's located here on the right side. It is a long projector, and good to see that XGIMI did include a lot of options here with our inputs, our ports and everything. So we've got our optical audio. There's 3 USB 2s that you can plug in and use external hard drives, 3 HDMIs that do support 4K 60, and it's this one right here that does support eARC. We've got 3.5mm audio. That is our power in, and then gigabit LAN. It is of course actively cooled like all projectors. There is a fan in here cooling down those components to stop it from overheating and just extend that lamp lifetime, that 20,000 hours. Aura 2 has a 0.177 to 1 aspect ratio, and I do have it set here approximately, well, it should be 26 centimeters, but it's a little bit less than that. It's about 25 centimeters away from my ALR screen, and that gives me an almost 120-inch projection here. And right now I've got a powerful light that's aimed onto the ALR screen, and you can see how it does fare during, say, daylight hours. With this screen, you can still make it out quite easily. So here we are in Android TV 11. Now this is running off a ARM Cortex A55 as the chipset. It's got a Mali G52 GPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. It might not seem enough, right? But for Android TV 11, it's actually perfectly fine. Now I wanted to point out that with my recording right now, I'm trying to get this through relay what it looks like to you as what I'm seeing, and it's very difficult to do that because of a lot of factors here. Shutter rate, to do with the screen that I'm using, an ALR screen. So a perfect example now that you see that the middle looks a little bit brighter, right? That's to do with my screen. I don't believe that that's to really do with the projection at all that's causing that. So I'm here in DRM info, and why is that? Well, I wanted to show you that it is telling me that it does support Dolby Vision, HDR10, according to its Widevine cert that it has. And this is a Widevine level 1 cert. You'll see here saying it's supported. Google, everything, security level L1. So that's all good. It's Widevine level 1. But what I have found that isn't good is this, that if you go into Google Play Store, and I have been searching for it, is Netflix, it just will not show up. So it seems at the time of this video that Netflix, unfortunately, not supported. So you'd have to use an Amazon Fire Stick, plug that into the HDMI port to get then Netflix or some other Android TV box that actually has that certified, because at the moment this doesn't seem to be Netflix certified. Amazon Prime TV is working, and you've got all the other apps that you commonly would probably be using. Maybe Apple TV is one of them there. Everything you think of. Now with settings, I won't go through them all because we probably already know all the Android TV settings and stuff like that, but I'll go to the projector specific ones. So we have our auto keystone correction. I've already used this and it does work well. The screen alignment adjustment. So auto keystone correction, if you move it about, it's going to fit it all to the screen correctly itself. And you can see it's now in progress, and you can go along and manually tweak this yourself, which I've done. And I got it a little bit better, I think, the keystone than what it's done now for me. So this is the only time I'll do this because I have to go back now into the alignment and set this, you can see that it probably looks just a little bit off. So I will go along and manually tweak this, which you can do now. And it's just doing its thing at the moment, focusing. There we go. So you can see that it has this special splash screen, and using the camera, the sensors on board, that's trying to get that keystone to look absolutely correct. So, oh, there we go. That's done, I think, a much better job now. So you're able to fine tune that if you press it again. And I can go along and get this just right. I can see it's a little off on one side, but again, that's because, well, here I'm capturing with an ultra wide lens, which is not helping, but it's the only way I can fit 120 inches that I'm projecting, and you can see it all, because otherwise with my other lenses, it's just not even possible. The focus, you can set that yourself as well, and there is also a button on the remote that is dedicated to the autofocus. So you tap that, you'll get the splash screen, and you'll see now it's going to try to correct itself. And once it finds it, again using the time of flight camera, there we go. It's got that focus. And I really have found this to work brilliantly. The autofocus, no problems with it at all. Now, normally with an ultra short throw projector, you put it down and you keep it in that same position. But what happens is sometimes people clean and they bump and they move it. So it's a very handy feature to have that. So we've got our picture settings. Brightness, you can boost that up. You've got your different picture modes, the game mode, so that's down to, if you get it onto the auto mode, it's not going to work here at the moment, but if you put it onto a manual mode, it will turn off the keystone correction, I believe, for this, and you can get it then down to 20 milliseconds, which is very good. Dolby Vision support and IMAX Enhanced too. That is there now. They did say that was coming with a firmware update, but we actually have that now already, which is very good. Professional grade color accuracy. Now, this is another option that you can run to as well. I find it to be pretty good. I just found that the whites, for me at least, turned to more of a bluish tint to definitely quite a warm white, or a little bit warmer, which is fine, and that's probably actually more correct too as well. So it gives us that option, and that's good. Our sound settings, so pretty straightforward. All the options you got there, inputs, advanced settings as well, just to do with the auto eye protection, which I will demonstrate that one now. So what happens if anyone gets in the way of the projector so they don't damage their eyesight? The sensors will see this, and then they will completely cut out the image, which is, of course, what you want. So it stops anyone harming themselves, maybe pets as well, toddlers, small children. It's definitely a handy feature to keep on. XGIMI's got this too, which is called Wall. And Wall, what it is basically some screensavers. And I like a lot of these because I think they're pretty good. The quality of them doesn't seem to be some of them in 4K that I have noticed. This one, for example, wetland camping, does look really good. We've got cat tree. I don't know if my cats are like that. They'll probably freak out looking at that. Space capsule, this is one of my favorite ones. This one does seem to be, I think, well, at least 1080p, a little bit higher quality than the others. And we've got this too, which is Cloud C outside. Focusing now on that image quality. So right here, I have black darker areas, and I am here with a clip that is 4K, 60, and it is HDR. So look at the detail of the eye of this frog here and its skin. That was looking incredibly good. The HDR here, the waterfall is brighter, and with our sunset here too, this is looking extremely good, and we'll see how it functions when it transitions now into the very darker areas with the HDR, with the bright there, looking excellent. That is probably one of the best, and I know I've probably said that with my other projector reviews, but this image quality just keeps improving really, and I just think that this one is very good. So no color fringing, no black speckle that I can see. Reds are not dominating. Hopefully that's coming through. No strange flicker. It's handling the motion just fine. I'm not seeing any ghosting, lagging behind of this image. I am really impressed with the kind of quality we're getting out of this. I mean, look at that detail. Another video that's focusing on autumn, just very quickly. You may see again in the middle, it looks brighter. That's the ALR screen with this reflection that it's doing with the projection. So what about my screen? What happens if I lower this now, which I'm going to do? We're going to see a huge difference in the quality. So you'll see that screen drop down. And it'll take a second for it to then go onto my white matte wall on the background. It's not going to fit it properly, but I can see it's no longer looking quite as good, quite as sharp. but it has got rid of that brighter area right in the middle that I was looking at before. And obviously I am going to need to focus this. So let's get that to focus again. Keystone's completely off now since the screen's not up. And that will focus now. I can see it's just about got it. There we go. All right, looking good, but a little bit more washed out, those colors. The blacks are not as deep. So I think if you want to get the absolute best out of this projector, you definitely want to get yourself a high quality ALR screen for it. And they're not cheap, unfortunately. So here we are with the PlayStation 5, just to check out a little bit of gaming performance. I want to see how that response time, that 20 milliseconds, the latency it does have, just like the menu, that playing the game itself, very good here. So when I turn to the left and right, it's responding as I would expect it to be. So those response times, very good here. And input lag and everything, it's not an issue, definitely non-issue. Really good, and super immersive gaming at 120 inches is very enjoyable. This is so good. I mean, I'm used to gaming on an LG OLED screen, but for console games, PlayStation, and a racing game like this at 120 inches, this is just amazing. Uncharted with my favorite room here to test out the HDR, and this is looking very, very good here. So we've got the oil lamp there burning, very bright. The darker areas, all the textures, the details on the ground, and then the shadows being cast on everything. It's looking great. So the HDR clearly working to me. I can see it, probably not coming through as good on my video because obviously I'm not recording this in HDR, but we can still see something. The difference between the darker patches and the light and the bright is looking excellent. And how's that fan noise? Well, you do hear it. It does fluctuate a little. It seems when it's under a lot of load, when it's got a lot of different colors to display, especially bright colors, you hear the fan sometimes ramp up a bit. So the sample I'm giving you now is just playing 4K clip at the background you can see just a little bit of, and it's a moderate fan noise. Now, if you're not close to it, you're not going to hear this at all. And who's going to be sitting this close anyway? So when you're on the other side of the room sitting in a lounge chair or whatever, you probably won't even hear the fan at all. Here's that sample. As for the audio, so it does have those 4 speakers and they're 15 watts each. So we've got 60 watts in total. Pretty impressive, not bad at all, because it won't beat a external sound system with its own amp, and then you can set up surround sound and everything else. And you can use the optical audio out if you wanted to. But the sample I'm going to give you now is at 80% volume, because at 90 or even 100, it's just a little bit too loud. But at 80, it'll give you an idea what to expect out of it. It's good. There's plenty of bass, there's treble, and overall, I'm impressed with the built-in speakers. Okay, so we have the 2300 ISO lumens. We've got great looking colors, no color fringing, no speckle in the blacks. Reds are not overly dominant, which I often see in a lot of laser projectors that I've covered. And we have some amazing speakers in this from Harman Kardon. They're 60 watts and they put out a lot of bass and very good volume to them. They can easily fill this whole studio that I have here with sound, which is great for people that don't yet have an external speaker setup, which I, of course, highly recommend you do get and invest in, maybe even surround sound if that is possible with your budget. So the UI, that's Android TV 11. The downside is I've found that Netflix support seems to be absent because it just won't show up in Google's Play Store there, which tells me that it's not certified. It's not a supported projector yet. I hope that that can change. Now, there are ways to get it installed, but I didn't have any success with that. And what I found in the past, that when you do this, you're probably stuck with standard definition, and with a 4K projector, that's not gonna look great. Amazon Prime TV, Disney Plus, all of those others are in 4K, which is very good. And we've got the Dolby Vision, IMAX Enhanced too as well, which is great to have for future proofing and just, of course, improving that image quality that we do get with it. So the big downside for me of this projector is the price tag. Of course, something like this with this grade, high image quality that it does have, and then the features with the keystone correction and everything else doesn't come cheap. So it's just below 3,000 euros at the time of this video, 2,899. Now, it could maybe be a little bit cheaper with some coupons or some discounts. Still, it's a lot of money when you factor in what the price of, say, a 65-inch or 75-inch OLED TV is. However, this, what I'm projecting at the moment, 120 inches. And as I've showed you, the image quality, I think, is fantastic. The autofocus works really well, and the auto keystone correction certainly takes a lot of that headache out of trying to get that image perfect with all the tweaking and adjusting you have to do with an ultra short throw projector. Well, you don't have to do so much. I still had to do some minor, finer little tweaks, but I did find the second time around of using the auto keystone, it did get it really pretty much spot on, and maybe even a bit better than I could do with me faffing about there for a while moving it, which can be very frustrating. I know in the past with some projectors I've almost been ripping my hair out trying to set them up. So that is the XGIMI Aura 2. Thank you so much for watching this review.